This channel is a not so proud member of YouTube's all encompassing special society of heavily overwhelmed layout enthusiasts. Go anywhere on the internet and you will find one of us there. Warning! The content of this stream is not suitable for children under the age of 16. The language, themes, attitude, and personality of the presenter was not suitable for his own children. And yet he behaves this way anyhow. Topics discussed will not center on trains and will focus on anything except politics. It just happens trains are running. Any similarity between characters, situations, trains, and intelligent thoughts is strictly a coincidence. And, say it with me, any rebroadcast or transmission of this stream without the expressed written consent of Major League Baseball is strictly prohibited. And finally, layout rules. If it's your layout, do what you want. Do not tell someone else what to do unless they ask you what to do. And never, do not ever call out, mock, criticize, insult, condemn, or blast another channel on your channel or live feeds. You don't like what they do, move along and ignore it. Hey, happy Friday, everybody. How are you? Anthony Dodge, the model train outsider here. I almost felt like stealing Jerry's greeting. Hello, my YouTube friends. Let's see who we have here. We already seem to have quite a busy chat bar going. Greetings, Chris from Hales Heritage Railway. And yes, I got your email and your picture. It's just still been kind of crazy here the last week and a half, and I just have not been responding to too many emails. Just kind of trying to get my head back into the real world, the living world. Hey, from the Angel Share is here. How are you? Nice to have you here. Let me see. Tim JD, nice to have you. Roy, awesome. And Colin, we're just missing David when David gets here. And Kieran. Let me see, who else? Nissy, hey, nice to have you here, Nissy. Nisi, I said Nissy, Nisi. Gotta correct myself. And whom else has come in? Scrolling. Joseph is here. Hi, Joseph, glad to have you here. So yes, a couple of people have sent me, little thumbnails of themselves. Actually, thumbnails are too small. I really need them at a good resolution so I can manipulate them. But yes, I am manipulating anybody who wants to be in the next Matt Clark. You are sending me it could be, I prefer just like, some sort of plain background, nothing behind you like a blank wall. If you want to throw on a cowboy hat or something like that, go for it. Otherwise, I will manipulate your picture and make you a participant in our next Matt Clark series, which will be coming probably in September. I originally was thinking maybe I'd get to it in August, but I haven't been writing the last couple of weeks for obvious reasons. Hey, Dunnicle Dad is here. Hello, Mark. And let's see, what else? Rick R. is here. Nice to have you. I want to make sure I don't miss people. So there's a couple of things, and now I've thrown my brain out the window. Woodgate Junction, hello. There's been a lot going on both in the world and outside the world. I noticed Heath is running a health contest, which is awesome. Sadly, it's too late for me. I already dropped my 60-some pounds. I think I'm down 62 pounds since November of 2019. I'm down 62 pounds. I was always healthy my teenage years, 20s, 30s. I played a lot of sports, did a lot of sports, especially after school. I didn't play a lot of in sports schools, but growing up, local kids, I always played sports. I didn't play in my high school years. In America, you play football, basketball, soccer. I played soccer in junior high, which for us is 7th grade and 8th grade. But once I started working, I started work as a caddy because I really was desperate to make money. I was very capitalistic when I was 12 and 13. My sports kind of went to the side. And then my father wanted me to play football. I was going to be the professional football, American football, by the way, American football player that my dad, because of Korea, was unable to become. He was injured in Korea, and that ended any hope of him having a pro football career, which is what he really wanted to do. Anyhow, so, but when I stopped playing all the adult league sports and really stopped coaching around the age of 41, 42, I just ballooned up, and I would go up and down in weight, 20, 30 pounds. And one time I got near 300 pounds, and then I dropped about 50 and went down to 250, but within a year I was back up to 260. And I spent much of the last 10 years 260 to 270, 255 to 270. And then I ballooned up in over 2019 and went to my doctor. My doctor, as you guys all know the story, I've told it before, my doctor said, you're building up for a massive heart attack. Your numbers are spiking drastically the last 3 months and blah, 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 blah. So in other words, I would like to compete in that contest, but it's too late. If I lost 60 pounds, I would look, and this is not derogatory towards people who suffer from it, but I would look. If I lost another 60 pounds, I would look anorexic. I would just be, I would make olive oil look buff if I lost another 60 pounds. I went down to 180 from 215. I went down to 180 right after meeting Joyce because what free time I had working in college, where I would eat, I stopped eating because I was hanging out at Joyce, with Joyce. And so I didn't eat for about a year. And I went down to, I think 177 is where I bottomed out. And yeah, I did not look good. I was looking very frail. All right, so that was me babbling. So let's see, did anybody else come in? Rick R says he was watching a train store walkthrough and somebody had a good Miracle collection. There are stores in the United States that do have Miracle. As far as I can tell, it's very, very rare in England. But there are stores, especially on the East Coast and the West Coast. The biggest store is just west of Chicago. It's called Renaud's, although there's a store in Florida called Micro Macro Mundo World that claims they're bigger than Renaud's, but I've never been to either of them, so I couldn't tell you. I would like to go to Renaud's just to see what it's like. Anyhow, that was the other thing I wanted to talk about here, since I screwed up Nisi's name here. And said Nisi instead of Nisi. Couple of streams back, I was getting razzed because I said Edinburgh instead of Edinburgh. And, got called out by the UKers. It's Edinburgh, it's Edinburgh, it's Edinburgh. Okay, UKers. In American English, they tend to say Edinburgh. I tend to go both ways. I'm like that. I go both ways. I will sometimes say Edinburgh, and I will sometimes say Edinburgh, just because my German background sees RGH, and it's Burg, Edinburgh. But if we're going to criticize us Americans for not pronouncing the name of Edinburgh correctly, I'm going to ask you, how do you pronounce the name of the capital of Paris? Or the capital of France? How do you pronounce it? Do you say Paris, or do you say it the proper way, Paris? How do you say the capital of Germany? Do you say Berlin, like everybody in English does, or do you say proper German, Berlin? Do you say the Potsdam Conference or the Potsdam Conference? Do you say Peking or Beijing or Beijing. You know, we can rip on people pronouncing how they pronounce different cities all the time. So anyhow, let's get the trains running. What have we got going today? I only changed out a couple of trains. If you weren't here last week, you missed the steamers. I did yank the steamers right back off. So I've got a bunch of my old reliables. I made a couple little changes. We'll see which changes you'll note. There are a few changes on the layout. I have not worked on the layout. Well, I did work on the layout. You might see some of the, in a couple of the cameras, some of the microscopic changes. Maybe you'll catch that. I don't know. We'll see how you guys do with that. And yeah, got the rail jet going. I got the rail jet, which you can see above me. I've got the IC2 coming in above me. And then I've got the ICE3. So the old standbys, although all the double deckers are out. So if you love steam, you missed it. Last week I ran steam. I ran my steam trains. And I had all my double deckers parked. So this week all the double deckers are out. Let's go to this view here. I left the Alex train out just because I don't run them a lot, so I thought I'd give them a second week of running here. There you can see the Railjet and the ICE3. Hey, David Cook, there you are. I was just mentioning you a couple of minutes ago. So the metronome is back out and running on lane 4. And if you look in the background, that's one of the really unique changes. I took off my little diesel units and decided to run my red Regiobahn back on lane 6. Actually, it's lane 11, but I call it track 6 because it's one of the few running tracks. So I think, let's see, have I ignored anybody? So yeah, I've got all 3 sets of double deckers out. We're running the double deckers. And yeah, and the Railjet, and then in the background we've got Alex, and then again you can see the double decker. So I parked my 2 DMUs, and I've got my little red Regiobahn running that short loop. So track 1, and I always go, this is track 1, the one nearest me, the longest one, is track 1. So track 1, 2, and 3 are, and those are the 3 that circumnavigate the entire table. And then tracks 4, 5, and 6 only run little loops on this side. So if I go to this view, let's do the long view. Y'all can see it. But yeah, so we have tracks 1, 2, and 3 go completely around the layout, and then tracks 4 and 5, the metronome is 4, and Alex is coming around on 5, and then 6 is the one that runs that short inner loop where I usually run just my little mini DMUs, my diesel guys. Yeah, I love my double deckers too. I mean, in real life, my favorite trains are the Austrian Railjet and the ICE3. As far as model trains go, it's hard to pick a model because they're all my models, and I like them all kind of equally. I notice some guys say they have favorite models. Hey, Kieran, there you are. Hey, Tim, how are you? Nice to have you, Tim Wells. I'm sorry I missed your live stream yesterday, but I was out and about and not internet available. I really would have liked to have seen you guys. Hey, Luma, there you are. Uh-oh. Luma, das ist etwas böse, meinen Sie? Sie und ich, wir können alles sagen und sprechen und so weiter, aber es gab nur ein paar, die hier Deutsch sprechen. Hey, Dwight Curley, nice to have you. Hey, St. Blazy, how are you? Nice to have you guys here. So, my original goal was I was going to get under the table last week and start working on this week. My goal was to get back working on the Fowler car system and take it all out. Obviously, as I talked about last week, and maybe it just makes me weird this way, I don't know. But I just am slowly, I'm not even recovering, I'm just slowly trying to get back to a sense of normalcy after my friend Dean died. It's hit me. He was closer than a brother, not quite as close as a wife. And after 30 years of all kinds of evil mayhem that we caused together, both live and on the internet, it's been very hard for me to get over it, to accept it. We had the funeral and the wake there wasn't really a funeral. We had the wake last week, Thursday, and I probably should have taken last Friday off, but I was home, and hanging out with you guys probably was the best thing for me to do. But this weekend's been raining. I think we've gotten 8 inches of rain in the last week here in Toledo. 8 inches of rain. You'd mistake this place for, I don't know, the Oregon or Seattle, Washington. Just been rain. We had 4 inches in one 24-hour period, 4 to 6 in one. Joyce will remember when she comes down, but it's been crazy. So I've been doing stuff to distract me, and unfortunately, one of the weird things is when I'm working on the layout, I think about other things. I've been doing things that take away my ability to think. I've actually been playing computer games, video games, anything that absorbs me in. Just till I can get over what's going on. So I'm hoping to get back, because I built, God, how many, I talked about it a week or so ago. I built so many model buildings in the last, that week and a half there, including that large new station that's going to go on the layout. I haven't put it in yet because I'm still working on building interior scenes with it. Yes, Tim, I have seen the floods in Germany. Unfortunately, both the Rhine and the Danube, these are common things. One of the things that I love to blow the minds of my students away, it's not a happy thing there, but it's like just a few years ago in 2013, we were in Dresden in 2014, and the previous year, 2013, the Elbe had flooded. The Elbe had flooded badly, massive. The Rhine has massive floods, and I know other rivers in Germany have as well. My friends in Delmenhorst have not mentioned that the Delma or the Weser have had massive flooding, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Weser is flooded. But the Rhine, you go up, you have the Rhine River, then you have the embankments, and then you have the town and walls and whatever. And then you go up the hills, because all along the Rhine are hills. And you get to these little signs they have on buildings, and it'll say Hochwasser, which is flood, so flood level 1985 or something like that, 2001. And my students were like, Mr. Dodge, what is that? Hochwasser? I said, in 1985, that's how high the flood. That river there came all the way up here, and their minds just boggle at it. But yeah, it's horrible to see that. I mean, I don't wish that on anybody, but the weather has really gone nuts the last couple of years, and I'm a scientist, and so we could talk about it. Hey, Boulder Creek, hello, James, how are you? And did Jean Ricard come in? Hi there. So, yeah, it's been a non-existent week for me. I didn't even get out to mow the yard. Joyce and I got out to play tennis once. Normally we play tennis 3 times a week. We got out once. And she's stepping up her game. She's getting harder to beat. Delayed your son until the G7 was over. All right, that's politics, but I'll allow that one to slide in. That's funny. Hey, there's Alan and Ewan. Nice to have both of you here. Alan from Old Dragon Junction, and Ewan, obviously the Blackwood N-Gauge layout. Nice to have you all here. There's no such thing as joining this late. If I were actually doing a building process or trying to teach people something, then you might come in late. But it's the same old babble every week, so you haven't missed anything. I just run trains, and you guys can stare at them go round, and occasionally we'll talk about something interesting to a few people. The latest word on the ICE4 is, according to one store, they're expecting their stuff in mid-August. So the pre-orders usually go out a week before that to 2 weeks before that. So I don't know. The IC4 has been a major thorn in my side, a pain in my patootie. It's been ridiculous. And yes, my other 2 ICEs are still in California. I really thought I'd have those back by now, so I'm going to have to send a nagging email. I don't like to nag, but I'm going to have to say, hey, man. But if you look carefully at this picture, and you've been a regular here, you might see one little change. A subtle little change here. I actually have 6 or 7 lyrics to songs I've written, St. Blazy. I have not sat down to record them. So technically there are new songs. This summer, it's really weird. Normally I travel in June. My work year ends at the end of May, and then I get 2.5 months off. And normally I travel for June. Joyce and I travel very cheaply. I don't want us to sound like we're jet setters, but we didn't get to go in 2020, and now we didn't get to go in 2021. And I used that travel to re-energize. I used that to kind of rejuvenate my creative side and my work side, and that hasn't happened. And it's just been a little hard to motivate myself to sit down and go through all the process of editing and going through the lyrics with Joyce and have her singing a couple of songs are not really her register to sing, and definitely nobody wants to hear my voice. Hornby's just raised. But yes, I do have songs. I just got to sit down and record them. And of course, making the video is a bit of work. But I've got 6 or 7, I'd have to go back and count, that I had 4 stored since the last one I did at Christmas. And then I've written 3 or 4 more I know I've got at least 3 others that I've partially written, but haven't written the whole thing. But I can't tell you what songs. I don't like to ruin the surprise. There's one I really want to do and get Joyce to sing, or Joyce and I sing duet with. Hello, Heath. Oh, I left that there and didn't change it up. Oh yeah, there's a lot of similarity between the Azumas and the ICE3s, especially the Azumas and the ICE3s. I mean, to me, an Azuma almost is halfway between an ICE2 and an ICE3 in terms of just body style. Go to the multi-view again. Yeah, I mean, this is going to be the backlash of what the world's gone through. Part of the reason for delays. I'm an outsider. When it comes to all you UK gentlemen, I'm an outsider. And I see the people that divide Hornby versus Bachmann. I see there are Hornby fans, Bachmann fans, and people who like both equally, and some who don't like either. And where I can tell you my observed differences between the German companies, Jägendorfer, German and Austrian, from German-speaking nations, Jägendorfer, Brava, Pico, Rocco, and Fleischmann. Rocco and Fleischmann are the same now. And Märklin, which also includes Trix, when it comes to the HO scale and even the N scale. I could give I can really talk about the difference in quality and pricing and that, and feel fairly confident and competent that I'm giving you legitimate information. I have been watching more and more videos online because 2/3 of my train channels are UK 00. Go figure. And there definitely seems to be a lot of complaints about Hornby quality right now. Now, there's a few guys that are very rabid. Hey, there's nothing wrong with Hornby. But when I see guys doing live box openings and pieces are broken off, or they come out of the box and aren't running well, and I watch Sam do that, and I watch some of you guys do that, and I'm like, I would never see that from any of the companies I buy from, except for Pico's hobby level, their lowest level stuff. Every now and then, pieces come in a little bent or whatever, because that's their low end stuff. That's their, for kids, basically, although collectors will buy it because they need that vehicle. And so they are cheaper plastic. Now, Märklin does not build in China, and how do you talk about this without it sounding political? Now, I was watching Baron Davies on his channel, and he was talking about some older stuff back in the day when things were being built in China, and talking about the high quality, like, you could tell this was that first. And I can't argue with him, but to me, when I compare stuff when it was made in home countries versus the cost-cutting stuff from China, no, I'll pay more money and have it made in Germany or Hungary or Austria or whatever. I'll pay that extra money. But that's the other issue, pricing. I better catch up with it. Lee is here. Hi, Lee. How are you? I mean, first of all, at the risk of offending people, China uses inferior metals. When I'm doing home repairs and home construction, I get some nails and screws made in China, and I strip half of them. They're garbage. You get that rot in the metals from a lot of the Chinese, like toy tin collectors that, tin toys and metal toy collectors talk about the rot you get, that metal rot. There are many different types of it. I'll just call it the rot, the Maz rot as some people call it. China uses inferior quality in this stuff to keep prices low, which is why a lot of people move their factories to China. Low wages and cheaper materials. But I'm going to use American money terms here. This is a Pico hobby car. This cost about, in the United States, this has cost about $30. This is one car. It's a passenger car. Let me go to the full screen here. Beep, beep, beep. Get it in the camera there. It's a nice car. It's 30 bucks. If I bought it in an American store, maybe 32, 33 bucks. I get it for about 30 bucks from Germany. 25 euros plus whatever. That is a stripped down. There's nothing fancy in it, no lights, nothing like that. If I wanted something like that with lights, I'd pay $60 to $65. So that would be what, about 50 pounds? 45 to 50 pounds, let's say, for a passenger wagon with nothing to it. But the detailing in it and the workmanship on it is pretty darn good. And yet in England, you can get some of these passenger cars, strip basic Hornby passenger cars, for what, about 15, 20 pounds? New? You guys would have to tell me. But when I look at the average price of locomotives, a brand new locomotive, I'm not even going to talk about whether, for example, where Bachmann and Hornby use the same molds and re-release models. But when I listen to Sam and he says, I paid $159 for this locomotive, 159 pounds, which is again about 180, 190 American dollars. And he says, he lists all the things it can do for, he says, I expect better quality at, and I'm like, man, my locomotives are $250 up to $400 if I want something that's got all the functions on it. Now I have cheaper locomotives and can buy and put in a different decoder on it, but I just buy it all built in. But, so there's, for me, when I'm paying $250 to $300 for a locomotive, I don't really have a locomotive easy to grab here. Nope. Oh, I got this guy. Hey, Richard Brown, how are you, sir? A couple of good videos lately. All right, this is, let's go to the, I've shown this many times, so I'm not showing you anything new. This is the first locomotive Joyce ever bought me. This locomotive is from the German company Brava. Brava makes high quality stuff. This locomotive was $400, $410 with shipping from Germany. $410 with shipping included. So about $380 plus $30 shipping from Germany. $380. It has 27 light and sound functions on it. And I know I've shown it before, I apologize, but let's pop her out there. I said her, didn't I? Why we genderize these things, I don't know. Now, this thing weighs a ton. Now my fingers are going to be in the way because I don't trust my hand spasms. There's that third rail ski. I mean, this is easily, let's see, 800 grams, let's say 750 to 800 grams. It's a pound and a half, almost 2 pounds, easily. It might weigh even more. All metal, except for the little plastic top here, but the shell is metal. You can see the detailing on the roof. It's a gorgeous, gorgeous locomotive. $380. So that would be about 290 pounds, give or take 5 pounds. 290 pounds. So in some ways, 00, guys, I know the quality is frustrating, but at the same time, you're paying a lot less than us in the German market. Now, American trains are probably more, American models here in America are probably more equitably priced to the British market, but in the German market, we pay a fortune for our trains. But the quality is, on average, probably quite a bit higher than the American trains and the British trains. All right, I've been babbling. Did I catch anything there? Randall Ellison is here if I didn't say hi. Hi, Randall. And despite all manners to the contrary, I'm not a rich man. I'm middle class, somewhere between middle and upper middle. Worked my way up from poverty, low working class. Oh, and yeah, Rick R. And trust me, Maryland has locomotives, especially steamers. They're high-end steamers that can go $1,000 easily. There's definitely higher-end ones up there. And then there is, what is the Swiss company? HAG, H-A-G. There's a Swiss company called HAG. They make really expensive locomotives. And to get them in 3-rail for my system, forget it, I'll buy Maryland. Now, HAG is supposedly amazingly high-end quality locomotives, but I'm not paying the money they want for their locomotives. Hey, Roy, thank you. That is a great way to put it, for full DCC, because again, that argument, hey, let's go back to trains instead of my face here, especially with the bumps and even a little pimple or something that popped up here. 57 years old and got a pimple. That's 250 to 350. That is roughly what I pay for modern electric model locomotives from Maryland. Now, Maryland has some that are like that you could get for 189 to 210 euros, which again is about $250 right now. So I think that's a great flat line. And yeah, they're full DCC, full digital, and Maryland will always have a minimum of 16 sound and light functions, and pretty much anything now is 24 or more. Maryland is now working on having 36 sound and light functions, your F functions. Now, I know a lot of you guys can go in and program 60 or 70 of them, but Maryland comes with anywhere from 16 to 32 ready to go functions, F0 to F31. So Miraklin, I would say that's a comparable price. For the locos I buy from Miraklin and even Roco, for me, $250 to $350, $250 to $350. However, I'm not a steam collector. If I were a steam collector, the average Miraklin steam locomotive is probably, well, the average I would say is about $330, with some El Cheapos at $150 to $200 stripped down. But if you want them digital, I'd say the cheapest you're going to find is $400 for a steam locomotive. So again, that would be about 295, 300 pounds for a Miraklin steam locomotive outside of some little mini thing. And I don't know my steam locomotive classes, and even then, German classes and types. I mean, I know what 062 and 044, you know, all that stuff. I know what that refers to, but there are classes and terminology. The mini shunters, because every country has their own. You guys have the Terriers. You know, I know a Terrier when I see it now. Hey, that's a UK Terrier. There's something similar in Germany. Germans and Austrians have the crocodiles. You guys have the Janus, where it looked the same both ways. Yeah, no, Roy, I appreciate that. Atlas, now there's Aethern, and there was MHI, did I say that right? MHI that went out of business last year, a year and a half ago, who, at least what I see sitting on the shelves at my hobby store. Now, when I say my hobby store, it is a chain store called Hobbytown USA, and they have about 15 locomotives and like 2 small shelf areas filled with all their model train stuff. They're basically tabletop wargaming, radio control stuff, model building, kit building, stuff like that. But they do have a small model, but definitely nothing for nothing for us foreign train guys. But our local hobby, when I want to go get some stuff to custom build, whatever. Hey, Tom Couples, nice to have you here. Jean Ricard, Miraklin now makes some of their trains that can run analog or digital, but yes, technically all their trains are digital now, but they do make select ones that can be run analog. ESU now makes their trains AC or DC, and they make some other, but yeah, I think all the German companies are now moved away from analog. Pico makes some analog. I don't know if Roco still makes analog. It wouldn't shock me if they do. But yeah, Miraklin is pretty much digital, but some of their digital models they say can be run in analog mode. They are digital, but when you look at the, do I have one here? Catalog. Oh, is this the newest? New items for 2021. It would probably take me too long to find a couple, but in the Miraklin catalog, they will sometimes say can be operated in analog. This is my new items 2021 catalog. Not the last couple of years, Miraklin, I guess, has not released a lot that has excited me to want to buy. I bought a lot of trains for not having a lot of trains I'm interested in. Technical stuff. But I'm going to start looking at this instead of paying attention to the chat. So that's... Oh, absolutely, Randall. I buy my stuff from Germany, but I don't buy it from the manufacturer. I buy it from a shop in Germany. but I get it sooner and cheaper than if I were to buy it from the American stores. And this hobby is expensive enough that, and I'm not talking I save 10 bucks. I save 100, 150, sometimes $200 on the cost of a locomotive. Well, depending on what locomotive. Let me give you an example. My ICE4, my long-awaited, still somewhere lost between Hungary and Germany, ICE4. Its retail price, its official retail price is 799 euros. It's advertised in most German shops for 699 euros. Some guys have discounts. My shop sells it for starting at 639 euros, but I'm in a club and I'm getting it for 519 euros. The cheapest American store is going to sell it is $729. So I'm saving easily, 519 would be about $610. I'm saving $110. And it'll take it at least a month to 6 weeks after I have it here from Germany before it'll actually show up at those American shops. So I'm all for supporting your local train shop, but at the same time, since there is no local train shop, I'm not going to order and pay $700-800 to buy it from an American shop when I can pay $600 and get it from Germany. No, Alan, we do not have import taxes. Or at least, we don't specifically the way you guys in the UK do. Basically, the American shops buy it wholesale from Germany, and then they mark the price up to cover the shipping cost, and that's it. So there is no import tax. We have sales tax, which is, you have state sales tax and city sales tax, and that. So there's obviously federal dues on imports and stuff like that, but we, the individual buyer, don't pay that. That's just thrown into the price, and then we pay it. And from what I understand, the UK markup tax is ridiculous. So no, it's just, I mean, the easiest places like Germany to shop where there's no, the price is what you pay. If it says $7.99, you're going to pay $7.99. In America, if it says $7.99, you have to go, okay, how much tax on that? All right, well, that's a tough anniversary to deal with. So tell Jackie hello from Joyce and me, and we're thinking of her. Yeah, I've seen that, Lee. You've again, for the last 2 weeks, I have just started going back to YouTube, like a couple of days this week. I've not been able to deal with the world. And again, maybe I sound like a drama queen, but I just, even though there were hints that this might have been coming, this is the closest person I ever lost, and it's been hard to take. I'm not dealing with it well. Oh, okay, Jean-Ricard, Miracle can be backwards compatible, but many functions won't work. And there are certain models they don't want you to work in with analog. But when I got into this hobby a couple of years ago, well, I say 5 years ago, I was 4.5 years ago. I just wanted the moderns. I wanted modern. That's what was drawing it to me. When I started seeing what the model trains could do now with the digital functions and everything, it was just too cool. And so that is where my addiction began and why I got into this. I wish I had those great stories and memories of, oh, back in 1971 I had this model or that model or whatever. I just had no connection. My Uncle Herb, my Aunt Lova's second husband, my Uncle Herb I know worked with the railroads. And he was into model trains, but I don't know that he had a layout. I don't remember him having a layout or model. He had models of trains, you know, like Airfix models, Revell models, but I don't recall that he had an actual running layout in his basement. But whenever any of our local malls back in the 70s or 80s, until he passed away, whenever there were train shows, if you went there, he was there. But, so I had no connection to trains, no love of trains. I don't know the history of trains. I just wanted to recreate Germany here, recreate the German trains here. That's my passion. St. Blasey is leaving. Okay, take care. Stay well. I'm sorry to hear you haven't been well lately. Just take care of yourself, and always glad to see you. Hey, Ray, there you are. But, you know, I don't have a local shop. You guys have all heard. There's a shop that is about 2 hours and 15 minutes by car away from here. It's a just over 2 hour drive, called Ormondy's. Ormondy's is a small shop in a small town southwest of Cleveland. We're in Toledo, so it's northeast of us. No, I'm sorry, southeast of us. It takes about 2.5 hours to get there. And it's a small little town, Medina, Ohio. I'm sorry, I said Medina. That's the European name. It's Medina, Ohio. And the problem is I'm era 6, which is modern era. We'll just call it modern era, the newest era. Anything from 2000 on. And he has very, 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 very little. And he doesn't update with all the newest Märklin stuff. He also sells some Pico and a little bit of Roco, but that's it. But I will go there and buy track. I do go to his shop to buy some track, and every now and then just to see if he has any older versions of Era 6 stuff I can find, or sometimes I'll also just impulse buy, like, oh, he's got a couple of packets of figurines. All right, I'll buy those too. He's got some of the gravel and the static grass or whatever. Okay, I'll buy that. So, yeah, our model railway shop is about 130, 140 miles away. That's the closest guy to me that has anything Märklin. There was one that was about an hour north, but he went out of business 3 years ago now. His wife was very ill. He was 80. His wife was ill. And he just closed up shop. If I were a different man, I would have offered to take over the shop, but he used to do repairs and everything. Even he still will do repairs for people. But so you got to go to Oberlin to get your O-scale trains. Richard has 4 shops all within 20 minutes. And I mean, I do love the feel. I mean, that was one of the coolest things. The first time Joyce and I traveled through Germany without students was 2017. That was the first time we didn't take students. It was our first time traveling as just married couple, no kids, nobody else, just the 2 of us. Even our honeymoon was not really much of a honeymoon. Well, the fun stuff was, but I was given 5 days off of work for getting married and my honeymoon. And we went to Cincinnati and watched baseball. That was our honeymoon. Well, we did other things, but when we came out of the hotel, it was baseball. But anyhow, Joyce and I made exactly 2 trips before we had, well, after we had kids, where it was just Joyce and me. We went to Niagara Falls for our 10th wedding anniversary. And for our 5th anniversary, we went whitewater rafting in West Virginia. For our 5th wedding anniversary, we went to West Virginia. For our 10th, we went to Niagara Falls. And then we turned around and took the kids the next year to Niagara Falls because we liked it so much and thought they'd enjoy it. But that was it. Then the next time we traveled, 20 years, yeah, our 10th ever, yeah, 20 years later, 2017 was the next time Joyce and I traveled alone without kids anywhere. And we went to Germany. And we went into a couple of model shops, and it was really cool. And then in 2019, I was fully into the hobby now. 2017, I was just getting into it. 2019, I was really into it. And we went into so many little mom and pop model train shops in Germany, and it was so cool. But then they had department stores that had large, I mean, there's this one chain of stores in southern Germany called Müller's. And Müller's, western and southern Germany, many other stores have toy sections, but they have a model train section in it, and it's, wow. It blew me away to see, here's a department store that's model train section is bigger than anything I'd ever seen in the United States. Hey, Flymo, nice of you to stop in. Your honeymoon was in Blackpool, it sucked. I won't say my honeymoon sucked, it just, wasn't a lot outside the honeymoon activities. We just decided to go down to Cincinnati because I literally was given 5 days off work. I was given Monday through Friday off work. I got married on a Saturday, and I had Monday through Friday off, and I had to report back to work on Saturday. No vacation, because I had just switched jobs, so I had no vacation time. I wasn't expecting to get hired. I got hired in March by the state penitentiary, the State Department of Corrections. I started my career working in prisons, not as an inmate, but we went. So I got hired in March. I said, by the way, I'm getting married in June. And they said, well, you've got training from March 25th to, you graduate March 20th. We need you to report to Columbus and start training March 25th or whatever it was. And I immediately, was down there. Joyce and I got married. I'd rented an apartment, and Joyce moved in the day after we got married. And then a week after we got married, we were separated. Joyce and I spent our first 3 months of marriage seeing each other on the weekends. We didn't see each other because I was going to Columbus to train, and then they would give me the weekend. I'd drive from Columbus back to Toledo, about 2.5 hours from Columbus back to Toledo, and see Joyce on the weekends. And then when I finally finished my training, they assigned me a job in Cleveland. And I had to find a place to stay. I actually stayed with the prison psychologist for 3 weeks before I found an apartment, got a couple of paychecks and found an apartment. And I had to pay for the old apartment and the new apartment, and I wasn't making a lot of money. Wow, going for that 50th anniversary, that's awesome though. That's awesome. Joyce and I just celebrated 34 last month, and it it doesn't feel like that. Feels like 100. No, time flies, man. Time flies. So did anybody notice any of the little microscopic changes on the layout today? That picture up above is one clue. My parents were married 54. Joyce's parents were married 54. Yeah, no, 55. My parents made it to 55 before my dad died. He died in April of 2014, and they were married in January of 59. I rearranged some trees. No new trees. I did not add any new trees from last week. I did rearrange, so that's why that might look that way. I definitely rearranged the trees that you see in the picture above me. There's just, it's like 1 millimeter static grass. It's a sheet. I did not actually static grass. It's grass sheets here. Some grass was added over here in this area. I just started putting in some grass sheets. So there's some grass around there. They are not running backwards, Jean Ricard. They're running the opposite way you would want them to run. But in Germany, they run loco first or control cab first. Yeah, Joyce was a keeper. Absolutely, Joyce was a keeper too, Alan. Yeah, I knew I was going to marry her the minute she agreed to a second date. I was like, wait, she went out with me and is willing to go out again? She's a keeper. And 3 years tied in a basement, and she finally agreed to marry me. So, it worked out. Well, that's a 4K camera, although it's not, YouTube is distilling it down to 1080. But that's a 4K camera, so it's nice and clear. And by putting the grass sheet in there, and again, you can see the C track is above it. It's not static grass up to it. It's a 1 millimeter static grass sheet, and I just bought a few of these and threw them in just to have some greenery until I actually break down and start doing that. No, I mean, that was the thing. Joyce and I met on a double-blind date. I won't tell the story for the umpteenth time, but neither one of us was supposed to be on that date when we met. I was filling in for a boyfriend who dumped the girl. The girl decided she couldn't go out on the date since I had already bought the dance tickets and everything. They found a substitute for me, so I was filling in, and then the other person canceled out as well. So Joyce filled in for that person, and that's how we met. But we went out to eat, and it was a very stuffy restaurant, and we're both working class people. Our dads were factory workers. And we're at the fanciest restaurant in Toledo. and I didn't even have enough money for it all. The dinner alone was $13, and I had $15 in my wallet. And I didn't have a credit card, and we didn't have bank cards back then. But we both responded the same way to that atmosphere and through the rest of the evening, and just realized our senses of humor were too in line, too much in line. Stuff I thought was funny, she was laughing at. Stuff she thought was funny, I was laughing at. And not that fake, oh, I'll laugh because I want you to like me. It was, damn, this chick's funny. Richard, the station is done. Other than I got to put the inside, I got to build the inside stuff. But I took, and humor, in most people, I think humor is the key. You've got to laugh together. You got to, number one in life, you got to be able to laugh at yourself. And the thing is, some people can laugh at themselves, but that mass depression and everything, you got to be able to laugh at, you got to be able to praise yourself, but also laugh at yourself. You got to see the good in you, but you also got to be able to laugh at yourself without hating yourself. But humor is the quickest way to bond with people. Humor is such a quick way to bond. If you have similar senses of humor, you're going to be friends. The politics, again, my best friend Dean was from the other side of the political spectrum for me, but he wasn't a far side, you know. I was this way, he was that way, but our sense of humor, our love of history, everything was joined that the political viewpoints didn't matter. We could tease and laugh and argue about them and agree to disagree. Humor is where you match. No, Rick R., Mancy's is still around, but it was what was the name of it? Eventually, Ricardo's for a while was more expensive than Mancy's. It was Ricardo's. They opened up downtown in the the one government center. Sorry guys, somebody else knows Toledo, so we're talking about it. Somebody's coming in to be silly here. Regardless of my political views, we don't go for that here. Oops. Let's get this right. There we go. Okay. So anyhow, we so I would say, yeah, humor is the best way to bond with people. At least a shared sense of humor. There are comedians I don't find funny that are very popular comedians. I never thought Larry the Cable Guy was funny. Never thought he was funny. Never thought Bill White was funny. Roy White. Never thought he was funny. Never thought Dane Cook was funny. Bill Engel, love him. Don't think Bill Burr is funny. I'll start listing all these comedians, but, you know, love Carlin. And despite his dark side, Bill Cosby was funny. Richard Pryor was hilarious. But, yeah, so Joyce and I just had way too many shared humor. We're both very subversive. We will look like the all-American, boring, white bread couple, but subtly were whispering to each other, plotting the overthrow of Western civilization. I love the Marx Brothers and the Three Stooges. The ones I could never get into were Laurel and Hardy. Abbott and Costello are one of my favorites. Love Abbott and Costello. Was never a Martin and Lewis fan. I never found Jerry Lewis to be that funny. He was somebody you wanted to punch all the time. Now there are, like any comedian, sometimes they'll get you to laugh. You know, there are some funny things Jerry Lewis did. But overall, I never found, but Abbott and Costello, never found Laurel and Hardy that funny. I just, you know, Three Stooges I could dig, especially with Curly. I was never as much a Shemp fan. I grew to appreciate Shemp more, but Morecambe and Wise from the UK, love Morecambe and Wise. The Two Ronnies, and Monty Python, and but I was talking comedians as opposed to troops, so let's narrow it to comedians or duos. Billy Connolly, hilarious. Love Connolly. Kenny Everett could be extremely funny. Yeah, humor can be, I don't necessarily believe, there definitely is a stereotype to humor genre. There's definitely a stereotype. You know, Germans are reputed to be very dry or humorless. Germans have an amazing sense of humor. They express it differently. The UK has, you know, how do you explain British comedy? Because you have Are You Being Served, Monty Python, and the Young Ones. I love all three shows, but the three very different styles of humor, but they're all UK humor. How do you, you know, so I think maybe there's a little bit of cultural influence, but do the French find certain things funny that nobody else in the world finds funny? I don't know, maybe. I don't think so. I think we all have different types of humor. Some people love physical humor. Some people like racial humor. I don't, to a degree. There's always something we all can laugh about. Hey, Chris is taking off. All right, take care, Chris. Thanks for stopping by. I'll have to talk to you about whether you want to be a villain or a hero. Chris sent me a picture. Jean Ricard's already sent me a picture. He already knows who he's going to be. In fact, Jean Ricard is going to be one of the main villains in the next Matt Clark. Harold Lloyd's another great one, Flymo. Going back to the silent era. I like Charlie Chaplin. God, my problem is I'm trying to think of all the UK's individual stand-up comedians, and my brain just, the files are buried somewhere, and those files are on a Windows 3.1 extension, and I'm running Windows 10 now in the brain. Fry and Laurie. I like those guys. I thought those guys were good. A little bit of Fry and Laurie, or was it Laurie and Fry? Rick Mayall by himself was hilarious. He was part of the Young Ones. Great stuff. Love those guys. But I think, especially in today's age where music, I mean, 30 years ago, if a band, a German band or a German-speaking band like the Hurricanes wanted to get big in America, you had to sing English. Now you've got little 8-year-old girls singing Korean pop songs. You know, internet widespread global communication now is I think taking away that cultural stereotype to a degree. We are exposed. We can go find German stand-up comedians. We can go find what's popular, this guy, that guy. I think there are stereotypes within comedy, which can be bad. And by stereotypes in comedy, you got to be very careful how you say this. But a lot of the stereotypes about Jewish people, I heard from Jewish comedians. If you understand what I'm saying there. There's a lot of, quote, negative stereotypes of people of Jewish persuasion. I don't see it, but I hear it more from Jewish comedians than I actually see it on the streets. As a younger man, I've asked my friends who happen to be Jewish and said, is the stereotype of a Jewish mother true? And some of my friends go, well, my mom's like all those jokes. And other guys are like, hell no, my mom isn't anything like that. So it becomes a kitschy, which is a Yiddish word, thing. So you had those old, what they called the Borscht Belt comedians. It could very well be, Alan, it could be. John Cleese, yeah. I mean, anybody from Monty Python. Rodney Dangerfield, love Rodney Dangerfield. And so, again, people can take a snippet of what I'm saying and try to turn it into something I'm not saying. Because there is clearly, I'm German, and the history of Europe has been one of anti-Semitism. The history in America, we have a long history of anti-Semitism. We've had a lot of things in America and other countries. And again, we want to avoid going political, but we have to recognize there's been some cultural oppressions going on. But again, there was a lot of racism in my parents. My parents had that subliminal, we're not racist, but you really are, Mom and Dad, you're racist. But my parents never made they're all like that kind of comments. My parents never said, all. In fact, the worst attitude my mother ever expressed my mother was Southern Baptist, and I know she was racist. She didn't, if you weren't Christian, you were a sinner. But when she found out Joyce was Catholic, and then we were going to get married, my mom was not thrilled I was marrying a Catholic girl. And she let it be known in many ways how she felt about me marrying a Catholic girl. And then when we decided to have a Catholic wedding, do it in the Catholic Church, and I converted to Catholicism because my wife's family had an issue with Joyce marrying a non-Catholic. So that was the biggest, I call it racism, but you know what I mean, prejudice. Fooly cooly. And that was the as catalyst. Now, my mom was racist, but I never heard her use the N-word. She was racist against a lot of people, but I never heard her use the N-word. My best friend in elementary school, grammar school, actually my 3 best friends were black, and my mom never came openly out and said that, but there were other ways my mom and my father would, even in the down, we're not racist, we just think, you know. Or as my English teacher in 9th grade used to say, my parents would always follow something with the word but. We're not racist, but. And I had an English teacher, Mr. Heinschel, in 7th grade, 9th grade, who said, the minute you follow a statement with the word but, you're going to contradict everything you just said. Father Ted, that was a good one. I love Father Ted. I also liked the superhero one he did, where he played the space alien superhero. Father Ted was hilarious. I love, and I can't remember the names because it's been a few years since I've seen it, but the angry drunken priest. But I liked Are You Being Served, at least during the, once Mr. Spooner came in, it went downhill. Quite a bit, but I liked Are You Being Served. But I never liked Keeping Up Appearances. I could never get into that one. I grew up on PBS, American Educational TV, so got all the old British comedies. But I just always loved comedy, which is why there was a part of me that that was inching towards stand-up comedy, but I never had the courage to push it. Father Jack, right. Father Jack, that's it. We just had so much comedy around. I mean, we had I'm sure the UK had them too, but we grew up what we call party albums. When all the relatives would come over in a record player, and there'd be these comedy bits. Like there's this American, they were DJs from Los Angeles radio station. They were called Hudson and Landry. Oh my God, I love Hudson and Landry. And a couple of characters in Matt Clark, the voices are from their Pioneer sketches. Hudson and Landry were hilarious. I loved them. All their Ajax business bits, Ajax Airlines, Ajax Pet Store, Ajax. Yeah, I love Benny Hill too. I really felt it happened in America too, but it really happened in England. The British comedian Ben Elton, who sometimes thinks a little too highly of himself, he came out years ago. I mean, it's got to be 25 years ago, maybe 30 years ago, and he wrote a really hard takedown of Benny Hill and Benny Hill's type of comedy, and misinterpreted. And, you know, a lot of people came out and said, well, that's political correctness, you know, the feminists, rip it up. My wife's a feminist. She likes Benny Hill. You know, people are like, well, it was that TNA humor, that juvenile humor. No, you missed the whole point. Yes, there was a little cheesecake TNA in it. But the guy who did it was always the bad guy. And the weird things that happened. And, you know, I think in the early 70s, Benny Hill was one of the late night comedy shows we got that helped induce puberty. There was a lot of bra and panties and TNA and Benny Hill that a 11-year-old boy couldn't wait for his dad to go to bed so he could watch the late night Benny Hill runs on local TV. And yeah, now see, Joe, there's one. This is where I get kicked out of America. I never found the Honeymooners that funny. I don't know why. I never found the Honeymooners that funny. Some bits, yeah, and actually the Honeymooners, you think it was this 5-6 year show, it was actually one season. But I never found the Honeymooners that funny. I don't know, I can't say what it was, it just didn't click to me. But then a lot of American, especially East Coast based ones, like I never thought Friends was funny. I never thought Seinfeld was funny. I never thought, the one that was Cheers. I never found Cheers funny. It wasn't my type of humor. It was that snooty East Coast humor. Oh, we're just so clever because we're so upper class East Coast, you know, and I just, or we're so New York. Go away. Yeah, Benny Hill was, well, not modern now, but yeah, it was slapstick. It was what we call in America vaudeville humor, slapstick, and yeah, a little cheesecake thrown in, but I guess I'd rather have a little bit of cheesecake in a humorous way than the blatant, over ridiculous thing that some people find popular or funny now. Hey, Richard Brown's taking off. Take care. I'm waiting for Sounds of Joyce. She usually comes down about 5. So that's the thing. I mean, there's humor. There's, you know, we go back to Jean Ricard talking, do I think humor's culturally based? Well, maybe it can be. You know, a British guy making, well, an Englishman making fun of a Welshman might not be funny to a guy from Oklahoma. He doesn't get it. So in that way, yeah, there's cultural. Just like a guy from Ohio making fun of a guy from Michigan would not be funny to somebody from Germany. Which reminds me, I'll give you a great example. When I started my exchange program, I got asked to represent my city of Toledo to our sister city of Delmenhorst. So I got an additional trip to Germany. We had done 2 exchange programs, and then I got asked to go over as part of a big city delegation. And I was the only guy in the group who spoke German, even though 3 other guys in the group were of German descent, and one of them was born in Germany. He didn't speak German remotely as well as I did. But yeah, we went over there for 5 days as part of a big media thing, the 2 cities becoming sister cities, etc. So I'm over in Delmenhorst. Well, one of the guys that, we weren't the politicians, because some politicians were in this group as well. Well, the politicians would go meet with the other politicians, and the business people would meet with the business people, and we cultural people would be left on our own. So we took a trip to Hamburg. And we decided to take one of the little boat tours around Hamburg through the Speichelstadt, the warehouse city. We didn't go into Miniature Wonderland at the time, Miniature Wonderland. We didn't go into that at the time, but I had already been there once. But anyhow, we're taking the boat. And the boat captain is talking in a dialect of German called Plattdeutsch, or Flatland German, Plattdeutsch. It's basically a hick. I should say that, I'm going to aggravate somebody. It's a regional accent in northwest Germany, very close to Dutch. It's like halfway between Dutch and proper German. But it's not, if you take somebody from southern Germany and have them speak German, and a person from northern Germany speaks Plattdeutsch, the southern German won't understand them. They'll understand maybe about 25 to 33% of what the northern German is saying in Plattdeutsch. They would both have to talk to each other in High German. Anyhow, so this guy is doing this boat ride, and he's making jokes in Plattdeutsch, and everybody on the boat is laughing. And this guy, I think his name was Steve, he was an investment banker, but he wasn't part of the political or the whatever group. He just was part of the culture entourage. He starts asking me, what do you say? What do you say? What's the... And I'm like, I can't explain it. He says, oh, I thought you spoke German. I said, I do, but it's a word play that doesn't work in English. He's making puns about Plattdeutsch German and High German. You know, the closest I could say it's like the word shoot and the word shit, and how alike they are, and mistaking one for the other. You know, that's about the closest way I could explain it. You just couldn't explain that cultural joke in that situation. So yes, Jean Ricard, jokes can be cultural, but humor in and of itself, Germans don't have one sense of humor and Americans have another. Some people like slapstick, some people like cerebral, some people like whatever. But there are certain instances where, you know, if you're from Belgium and you make jokes about the Walloons or the Flemish, an American's not going to get that joke. So, you know, there's always going to be some cultural element. You know, it's like if you ask me what's the greatest rivalry in sports, I'll say it's Ohio State, Michigan. But somebody from Alabama will go, Alabama, Michigan, or Alabama, Auburn's the greatest rivalry. A guy from New York is going to be, no, it's the Yankees and the Red Sox, because it's going to be regional. But in the end, everybody plays baseball or football or what have you, and you just have your own cultural subcurrents going through. Yeah, indeed, a lot gets lost in translation. So I finally recited what the boat captain was saying to the crowd, and I was translated to English, and that's really hard to do. I mean, because I haven't been trained as a translator where you got to be able to hear it and then say what they're saying in English. I still, you know, because you're talking over what they said, so one ear's got to hear what they're saying in German while your mouth's still speaking in English, and that takes training. So I listen to what they say, know what they said, and reply back in German. So I'm listening, I'm trying to listen to what he's saying. So here's the joke where he's going. And when they got done, everybody's laughing, and the American with me, the banker, God, I cannot remember his name. I want to say it was Steve, something like that, I don't know. But anyhow, he was like, I guess I don't get it. I'm like, exactly, you don't get it. Yeah, the Chief Raiders, because that was the two big guys in the old AFL, the Chiefs and the Raiders. But out of all the rivalries, only Ohio State, Michigan actually had a war behind it. The first American Civil War, 1835, 1836, when the state of Ohio and the territory of Michigan wasn't even a state, went to war over my city, Toledo. Neither one wanted it. No. Chicago was just a frontier fort town in 1830s. And what Chicago became, the people of 1830 thought Toledo would be. We were at the butt end of Lake Erie, so all the pelt traffic, the fur traffic coming from Canada and the Western Territories controlled by the Native Americans all came through Toledo. So Toledo was a trade center. And we were going to be big. We were going to become a big, powerful Western trade center. And then 5 years later, 10 years later, Indiana and Illinois got added, and Chicago became the big trade center, and Toledo never made it that way. But anyhow, so both the territory of Michigan, which was not a state, and the state of Ohio wanted Toledo in it, and they were fighting over it. They both mobilized their militias, and nobody was killed. Shots were fired. Drunken shots were fired. Some stories say one guy was killed. Some stories say one guy was injured. But President Andrew Jackson had to intervene. and he finally intervened in 1836. Well, 1836 was an election year. Ohio was a state and counted. Michigan was a territory, didn't count. So he sided with Ohio. But then what he did for Michigan was he told Michigan, I'm going to cut this section off the Wisconsin territories and give it to you, which is a big fur and beaver pelt area, which is now known as the Michigan Upper Peninsula. And I'm going to mandate Congress make you a state, which is why Jackson won the election in 1836, had a second term in 1837. Michigan became a state in 1837. But Ohio and Michigan actually had a war over the city of Toledo. In fact, it's called the Toledo War. And so Alabama and Auburn, you can't compete with that. Bo Sox and Yankees, you can't compete with that. Toledo, Ohio and Michigan actually had a war to start our rivalry. I should enlarge my picture. Hey, Ray was leaving. Sorry, Ray. Goodbye. I try not to enlarge my picture. This is a face only a mother could love, and she didn't love me. Only a wife could love. Let's go through some of the various what's happening. I'm actually running my trains a little slower today, so you guys get maybe better views of them as they go through the cameras. There's a nice little view. An ICE and an IC coming through. A nice village view. Yeah, this side over here, my Bremen side, has grown large in the last couple of weeks with all the new models I built, and plus the old 3D printed models. Ah, I see. All right, well, I'll try to remember that. Less noise. It's the same mic, regardless of which camera I go to, it's all the same mic. Well, just remind me, Jean Ricard, just type in bold, get my attention, and say, hey, enlarge your picture so I can see you. Like a lot of Americans that were into history and military history like I was, I went through my Civil War phase where I was big into the Civil War and studying all the battlefields. We've gone to Gettysburg and several other battlefields, Joyce and I have. And then I moved on, and I'm still a big military historian. I love military history, but anymore I focus on World War I. World War I is, as far as modern warfare, my favorite area of study. And then medieval warfare. 9th century, 10th century, 11th century, 12th century, into the 13th century. Especially whether it's the various English civil wars, the Wars of the Roses, and the various other dynastic fights, the wars against Scotland and Wales, And I don't take sides in those. It's not like, oh, the English were cool. Well, no, they were trying to conquer other races. But studying about King Rodri of a lot of books call him King of Wales, but that's not. It was what was it called? My pronunciation's going to be bad. Gwynedd was the name of his kingdom at the time. Rodri. Most people say Rodri of Wales, but at the time he didn't call it Wales. It was GWY something something. So Gwynedd. I forget my Celtic how the W and the Y go together with the G. But anyhow, it's been 30-some years since I studied Celtic accents and dialect. I went into Germanic and Proto-Germanic. My linguistics degree. I got too many degrees. And I became a teacher, so as my father used to always say, what a waste of an education. Yeah, the River Raisin. That's right up here too. But Toledo, here in Toledo, we had, before it was Toledo, we had the most important battle that opened the West up for white colonist migration was the Battle of Fallen Timbers, just southeast of Toledo, in what is today Maumee and Rossford, which are suburbs of Toledo. But it was fought in this region. Mad Anthony Wayne and his troops beat the Mayanas Indians. You can learn to turn your camera on. Here, I'll put that view on so you can... Oh, I clicked the wrong one. Oops, sorry about that. There you go. Whoops, there you go. Putting the camera in the wrong place again.
Hi, everybody.
Oh my
I
God,
can't
woman.
see it. I don't have it on this one yet.
True, that's true. You don't have it on.
Yeah, bye, Roy. What is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Lord's Drift is, and again, I don't take, well, I might take sides, and not for the guys you'd want me to take sides with. The Battle of Isla and then Lord's Drift, which was, you want to make it heroic, but let's face it, you were invading their territory. But it's a great battle when you take the political implications out of it.
Young lady. Again, hi, everybody. Take it away.
Gotta get my pointer stick out of the way. There you go.
Yeah, wacky with it.
I shall whack you with this.
Oh, yeah, Tempest is right over the border.
Oh. You got your kind of wheezy voice.
Yeah, okay. I'll do my best.
Get your teacher voice going.
It's been raining.
It's been raining. We're building an ark in the yard. How many inches of rain have we gotten this week?
We're over 5.
Oh, we had 4 that one night.
3.
3, and then we had another 1.5, 2, 2. I thought we were closing like 8.
I don't think we're quite that high.
Yeah, oh, we know Temperance.
Yeah, we do. So,
I once got a tour in a couple of the big mansions that are built in Temperance.
why?
The Macedonian Mafia guy.
Oh, yeah, okay.
That's a story that would take forever to tell. Because, speaking properly, I was taught, you don't say Macedonian, it's Macedonian. This guy was from that area of Europe north of Greece called Macedonia.
Right, yeah, I guess.
And
Sutton.
he owned a chain of restaurants in Toledo, and he was somebody we were trying to recruit for. It was for the Russian. We were trying to find a sponsor for the Russian.
Right.
Oh,
we did.
that guy was clearly mafia.
Oh, sure he was.
And we went to his house once, and it was good. You could fit our house 5 times into his house, at least. You didn't go.
No, I didn't.
No, you didn't go.
Why is the reveal bar going so slowly around the corner here?
The red one?
Yeah.
Or the metronome?
No, the red recap.
The red one's going really slow because it's such a short track. You'll notice instead of running the
Yeah,
diesel,
but it
I'm
almost stops right there. And then it picks up again.
well, that's an area that hasn't been cleaned in a while. Just might mean the track needs cleaned.
Yeah, alright.
Means I'm gonna have to pop open that middle area and get over there and start cleaning. I didn't notice that, but I just had him chugging really slow here.
I know, but he comes around that corner faster.
Well, he is going up a hill here.
Yeah, he is.
You can see rises and then
Yeah,
down.
we'll watch him when he gets around here.
Yeah. Oh, and it's definitely.
Almost to a stop.
Well,
He needs me to come in and get it.
nobody said anything.
Oh, okay. Yeah, this is unusual. This is an unusual amount of rain this time of year. Typically, July and August are pretty dry. But that's how this whole summer has gone. It's hot, and it's wet, and it's
It's
cold.
been a few years, Joseph, but I
Nuts.
remember, I think I read that, The Washing of the Spears. God, I've read thousands of books in my life, but I think I read that one. That title sounds familiar. But yeah, my big history love now is medieval warfare, whether it's in England, the Holy Roman Empire, especially the stuff that nobody learns, that I've learned. Like Otto the Great, one of the few German rulers to be called the Great. Of all the Holy Roman emperors, only one, because Charlemagne, which means Charles the Great, Charlemagne did not rule a kingdom called the Holy Roman Empire. He was called Emperor of the Romans, but it wasn't the Holy Roman Empire. That title was not used until the empire was reestablished when Otto the Great was crowned. But Otto is the only Holy Roman Emperor to be called the Great, much like Alfred the Great is the only British monarch to be called the Great, or English monarch to be called the Great. I should say English, not British. And then you had Frederick the Great of Prussia. But learning some of those battles, Frederick Barbarossa, his wars, Henry IV, the Holy Roman Emperor. I love studying those battles. Or better yet, Henry III. Henry III, Holy Roman Emperor, Henry III, ruled 1039 to 1065, 1055, somewhere in there. Deposed 2 popes and was still buried with the nickname the Pious. That's how badass you had to be, that you could have deposed 2 popes and still get buried with the nickname the Pious.
You know, the popes needed to.
Apparently the popes needed removed and everybody agreed.
Yeah.
Henry III the Pious.
Holiest move.
That's a badass ruler right there. When you can kick out the leader of the Christian world at that stage, well, not the Christian world because you already had the Great Schism, but that's badass. When you can depose 2 popes and you're still the Pious when you're buried. Yeah, I know Lindy Beige's channel. I was subscribed for years. I unsubscribed recently. I think I got tired of him. But he had some great stuff. I love Lindy Beige, but he started doing some stuff that I felt like, nah.
George Suave?
Jorge.
Jorge Suave. So Suave.
Or it could be Jorge Suave, but
Have you found his? The same time?
no, I don't know that one, so I'll have to look into that
Yeah,
one.
we'll look into it. About Larry and Bailey?
What about Vlad the Impaler? Totally misrepresented in history. I gotta do this for,
Have a motion this one.
yeah. Hey!
Jim?
Jim is here, Joyce says. Hi, Jim. Vlad the Impaler is the most misrepresented and misportrayed leader in Western history. He is, if you go to Romania, he's George Washington to them. He was a guerrilla fighter and an independence fighter against the oppressive Ottoman Empire. Now, did he do some terrible things? Yeah, but, and I hate this but, every ruler did these things. The kings and queens of England, the kings and queens of England, the kings and queens of Hungary, the Russian czars, everybody was massacring and murdering the people they were trying to put down. But German historians, they were called Saxon scholars, went down there and they came back with exaggerated stories. It's hard to tell what was true and what's not. It is true that he did impale 20,000 captured Ottoman troops. He impaled 20,000 Turkish troops who had invaded his country after a treaty, and he defeated them in a big battle and captured like 25,000. And he impaled 20,000 of them as a message to the Turks. Don't come into my land. Impaling's not a good thing. But that we view him as a bad leader, considering the Turkish leaders, what were they called? See, my brain's not working. The sultans, no, they weren't sultans, caliphs, were massacring and murdering people in mass numbers. The Germans, you can't find a dynasty in that time period that wasn't in the world that was not murdering lots of people. Well, unfortunately, he didn't stop because Vlad was arrested twice by the King of Hungary because he was, although he was Prince of Wallachia, we always say Transylvania, but actually he ruled Wallachia or Wallachia in the native tongue. He was deposed by the King of Hungary because the king was his overlord. And the King of Hungary was making deals with the Ottomans to keep the Ottomans from invading further in. And the King of Hungary was answerable to the Emperor, Habsburg Emperor, who was also Emperor of the Holy Roman Empire, but also Emperor of the Austrian Empire, which was the Hungarian lands. The Hungarian king was beneath the Habsburg ruler. And so when they were trying to make peace, the Ottoman Turks would say, well, you do something about that Vlad. And he says, okay, Vlad, you're out. And he even imprisoned Vlad a couple of times. And Vlad's father was murdered by local nobles who were in league with the Ottomans. So Vlad had...
Bye, Kieran.
All right, bye, Kieran. So Vlad was not a good guy. But nobody back then was a good guy. Very few were good guys. Very, very few of them were good guys. And history likes to create villains.
Sure.
And so, to justify the deposing of a prince, the Germanic scholars, the Saxon scholars as they were called, would put out these, he murdered women and children and he did this and did this. But if you go to Romania and say anything bad about Vlad, they get very angry. But on the flip side, they do cater to the vampire stuff now. It took them years, but they realized there was money to be made in tourism. So as much as they hate the fact that Vlad was the basis for Dracula, because you could have gone there, and I had friends who traveled there in the 70s and 80s during the Cold War, and if you mentioned Bram Stoker's name in Romania, they hated you. Now, they kind of wince and take your tourist money and sell you vampire toys.
Here's the steak. Oh my goodness, my goodness, my goodness.
Well, we call it the Dark Ages, but if the Dark Ages came after the Roman Empire, let's face it, the Romans, and I know there's a lot of scholars in the UK that are very pro-Roman. I'm kind of anti-Roman. The Romans were some of the nastiest bastards around. The Romans definitely did their fair share of mass genocide, murder, and killing. The Romans weren't good guys either. You know, and I know Monty Python Life of Brian has that great scene. What have the Romans ever done for us? The aqueduct. And we ought to give too much credit to the Romans for how they settled and civilized lands. Those lands were already settled and civilized. Remember, the Romans tried having a republic, a democracy, a republic, and failed and went to an empire.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Romans, I'm not a fan of the Romans. They're important in history because of their influence, but they weren't good guys. And their histories, no matter which Roman, whether you quote Cassius Dio or Tacitus or some of the other great Roman historians, their histories are very skewed. Yeah, there's Bran Castle. Vlad actually had two castles. So there's Castle Dracul, which is Bran Castle, and then I forget the name of the other one, but he actually had two castles.
That's good. Don't forget to hit the like button, y'all.
Okay.
Just your daily friendly reminder.
Thank you, Daisy.
You bet. That's kind of downer, you know.
What's that?
Sort of a downer talking about impaling and...
Well, yeah, it would be a bit of a downer. I would be worried about somebody who got excited talking about impaling.
Yeah, so find something.
Can we
Find something more.
I'm sorry, are you taking
fun
this
to talk
personally
about.
somehow? The
No.
thought of a wooden stake shoved through your rectal and out your chest while you're spazzing and hanging up there doesn't appeal to you?
Lighten it up, bucko.
Some people. We're just talking history.
Indeed.
Crucifixion's a doddle. Stop saying that. Going back to Life of Brian.
Yeah.
Crucifixion's a doddle. Stop saying that. See, and we just call it the early Middle Ages now, or the post-Empire Ages. I hate calling it the Dark Ages. Because people always go, oh, the Roman Empire ended and all
Right.
education and knowledge disappeared and we went through ages of darkness before. The Roman Empire was already in decline and education had disappeared.
Anthony does know his history, so he could do his own history channel, but coming out of the model train outsider might look a little odd. You need a new channel.
Well, as my things talk about,
Yeah,
I'm running trains. What I talk about is up for grabs any day.
for sure.
You know, most people don't understand that in the last 150 years of the Roman Empire, everybody was leaving the Roman Empire and going to the Germanic tribes for safety. They were sick of the civil wars and everything else. They went to the Germanic tribes for safety and stability.
Oh, the volcano's still blowing off?
Oh, that one volcano is still going.
We haven't checked it recently. Germany's underwater too.
Yeah, Germany. We talked about that.
The
Germany's
Rhine
underwater.
Palatinate, and I suppose Stefan is using buckets.
But
So, crazy.
so you can tell who the Roman guys are. Let's change subject now.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Are you?
Yeah, and we saw that, John. We'll stay out of politics on that one. You know that rule.
Yeah, you're going politics, John. That's an ugly can of worms to talk about.
Sure is. So, video, evidence be damned. But
And that would be the phone. Charlie Chadwick. Charlie at Chadwick. And that would be the phone.
Charlie Brown?
I've got to work on Charlie Bishop's accent. I'd have to work at that. Yeah, we had a heat wave. Now you guys can have it. And now we got massive rain. Yeah, you'll notice we're not answering the phone if you're hearing it ringing.
Yeah, we'll let the answering machine get
If it's
it.
not on the cell phones, it's not important.
Gravity one.
Gravity won how? What did you do?
Oh, fine. Blame me.
Well, I didn't do it. You knocked the microphone flying.
I really didn't touch it.
Well, I didn't touch it.
It's side heavy.
It's a ghost. We have a poltergeist.
Oh, no.
We have a poltergeist.
Oh, yeah. It's not. Oh, yeah, you might get that water. It hasn't been going that way this year. I know they sometimes get our systems.
Westphalen. See, I always have to remind myself to say these parts of Germany in English. Westphalia, because I immediately go Westphalen. North Rhine-Westphalen. Yeah, I saw he did ballasting this week. Yep, he was doing more ballasting, which is good, because ballasting means you're moving along with that scenery.
Agreed.
Charlie's always a great chap to watch.
Yeah, that fun.
The Romans are coming. The Romans are all dead, now they're Italians. And they're already here.
Caesar's ghost.
Caesar's ghost. That's what I think of Caesar's ghost.
Et tu, Brute?
Oh god, I just did a Dean.
You did. Ah, you're channeling him.
Yeah, I was channeling my friend Dean.
Yeah.
My friend Dean was very proud of his Scottish heritage.
Sure
And
was.
whenever he said England or the English, he always spit.
Yeah. The two. Yeah.
T. And then there were the English. T. And then there was England. T.
Oh, that's nice. Shania got her Bill Nye Science Kit.
Ah, cool.
Excellent. Encourage science.
Yes, yay science.
Oh, she's not making her own slime?
I'm not sure you a knight at the Romboy table.
Oh, Joe Rader. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I thought he'd been here before.
I
How he
noticed
wasn't knighted,
he
I don't know.
wasn't
But now
there.
he's a knight, going back to Middle Ages.
Yeah, he sure is.
Knights of the Rhomboid
So-
table. You all have your spanner in hand. Knights of the Rhomboid
Yeah,
table.
my fifth graders were real big on
We're
making their
a
own
little more
slime.
sciencey than Knights of the Round Table.
Indeed.
And we didn't want to hang out with Knights of the Square Table because they were all a bunch of nerds and they wore flares and so we're Knights of the Rhomboid table.
Yeah, that's Anthony.
What's that?
The round boy table, that's you.
The Rhomboid.
I don't like to go wrong. Round boy.
Yeah, no.
Boy. Yeah. it's-
Knights of the Round Boy is something else. I don't know what you're thinking there. Hello, I'm a Knight of the Round Boy.
Ah, okay, Randall. Oh, I don't know what, I never Googled it, but the kids sure did. Make their own. Common day,
Oh
common
man,
day
we used to
stuff.
use glue and other stuff and make our own.
Yeah.
And then you go, achoo! Ah!
Yeah,
They cannot do that in my students now.
I'm sure you do. Why wouldn't you?
Hey, Joelle is here. Joelle, long time no see. Welcome, welcome.
Hello? That's good.
Yes, it has been a long, long time. It's been a long time. Now I'm coming back home. I've been away now. Oh, how I've been alone. Wait until I come back to you. Sorry, singing an obscure Beatles song.
Head bopping too.
You're head bopping.
We're good. I get the air going. You
Indeed.
gotta be a little faster than that, though. Actually, not faster, just stronger and beat. Oh, I'm sorry, Joy.
Oh, yikes. Well, that's good here. She's doing one.
Oh,
And I'm just trying
glad
to
hear
tip that up, and then I turn around. Maybe that works. There. You were bopping and then started shaking again.
Sorry. Yeah, understood, Randall. We'll know what it is.
Yeah, Cheyenne turned 10 this week.
Okay. Alright.
Oh my god.
That's cool.
Remembering my kids at 10 so long ago.
She's going into 4th grade or 5th grade. Could be either one. The summer birthdays make things complicated.
Oh, way too many summer birthdays. My son, my daughter, my son's fiance. Who else?
Huh?
Who else is July? Liz, AJ,
Yeah, Val.
Val.
Yeah.
I thought we had at least one other that was July.
No, not that I know of. So, Lamo's leaving.
What have you missed? Oh my god, in 2 months, what have you missed? Well,
There's a hole in the layout. Woohoo! An access hole.
There's
That
a
was
hole
the
in the
big
layout.
thing.
there's also a giant train station over there.
Right.
I don't know, can you see it?
Hey, you too, Flamo.
Let's do the...
Yeah, it's pink, just because the stuff came off when we cut it
I don't
out.
know, Joel, can you see it behind me back there? Trying to be right there. I built 8 houses and yeah, you can see back there I built, it's a meter long giant train station which is going to go on the Bremen side of the layout.
Okay.
Alright, Flymo, take care. There's you.
Yeah. Okay, going into 5th. Yeah. Going back down to 4th, unless I get talked into going back to the virtual academy again.
Nope, you can't see it in that one. But yeah,
Yeah.
in this picture, Joel, you can see I crawled under my table and I cut out an access. I don't know if you can see the pink area there. And I changed the blinking light. If you haven't been here in a while, the blinking light is no more. It is finally gone after 2 years of being nagged about it. It's finally gone. Changed out the light. I built a whole bunch of new buildings over here. So all kinds of new buildings here. I put some
Happy birthday,
scenic...
Joseph.
Hey, happy birthday! And I put some green grass matting in a couple of places. You can kind of see it over there, if you never noticed.
Green it up a little bit.
Oh, you waited till the end of the stream to announce it. Well, happy birthday, Joseph.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. Well,
Well, that was my problem. I really didn't notice it when I was down here. I would see it
yeah.
on the screen, and I would see it doing live feeds, but when I was down here, I really didn't notice
so
it.
where can you put an access hole, honey? Don't you think we should get to work on that? Yeah.
So yeah, I put an access hole. But yeah, all those buildings are new except for that train station.
Yeah, he was very busy for a week.
Actually, and there's 2 other new buildings over
Me
here.
too.
But yeah, I broke off the schneid in a week and a half. I built like 8, 9, 10 new models. After a year of doing nothing, I got crazy.
And now he's been playing Assassin's Creed, so he's not working on the railroad again.
Well, welcome, New Fenris Railroad. Nice to have you here.
Oh, he's another one you're going to have to
We'll have to night another
night
one.
another Rom boy
Gotta give him-
table.
And now to play you flies off the rotten
yeah, they
table.
sure do.
Oh, tell me about flying by. Yep.
Indeed.
But, yep, just running my German trains, HO scale, my big table. So yeah, Joel, that's the new stuff.
He sent 3 of his ICEs off. He's got 1 back. So I don't know where you were in that sequence.
Let's go to the multi-view. Where is it? Yes, Joel, I sent, I actually split a wire that I didn't realize was split, and so I sent my IC3 to get repaired, and that was a quick fix. He just had to resolder a wire that I couldn't see was separated. Stupid me, I guess I should have yanked on a couple of wires. But my ICE2 and my ICE1 are being upgraded, but they're still in California, and that's been 2 months, so it's time to nag the guy.
Yeah. Yeah, because you're really not nagging.
No, I'm not nagging. I don't like to nag people.
No, you don't.
So what have
But
we
you're
got
not.
running today? What have we got running?
You didn't tell everybody what was running today?
Yeah, I did, but there's new people here.
Couldn't imagine you
I'm
did.
running my Alex train.
Yeah.
That is a private company that does local transportation from Munich to outer areas.
It's mostly
Slow
diesel
speed.
and it's loud and kind of grimy.
ICE3 and
Those are
my
nice.
Metronome, which is a private company that runs commuter traffic in and out of
They're also
Hamburg.
nice.
In and out of Hamburg.
Yep, those are nice trains, the metronomes.
Very clean because the people that
Yeah.
own them are very uptight about you
Yeah,
sitting
I
in
don't
your
like
seats
the little
properly.
potty, so, but,
And then the Railjet,
which
the
we were going to
Austrian
ride
Railjet.
on, but we will.
someday.
We will.
And this is an IC2.
And many of those.
You can tell an IC2 because it has double-decker cars. The IC2s have cars with 2 levels.
Hmm. And those are comfortable too.
Those are nice trains,
Mhm.
yeah. Oh, speaking of which, last week I talked about this and I couldn't find the pictures real easy. So I'll show it now and bring this up. But these are pictures of, whoops. These are pictures of the station in the dark, but when it's all lit up, this is the actual Dumnorst bus, the Dumnorst bus station and train station. And what you can see in the middle, not you guys can't see the cursor, but pretty much right in the middle is the actual train schedule display, and I will bring that one up.
Yeah, okay. Oh, I can see it now. Yeah, it's by the bus station. It's in the roundabout of the buses.
But it tells the actual times of the Delmenhorst buses and trains running through.
Right.
It's logged on to their website. So when those are on, it gives the departure times of all the buses.
Do they do the trains too, or is it just buses?
Mostly buses. I did
Okay.
program a couple of the trains into it,
Okay.
but
Yeah, I'm just trying to remember walking up and looking at them. That was super cool.
I think so.
Yeah.
So I shall get that all back running again
Yeah.
when I get under the table and do the Fowler car system and all that.
Yep.
But that was, I actually finished that last year. That was last year, April, that I finished installing.
Yeah, that
I
was
finished
fun.
installing the,
Big job. That whole custom made train station and the bus station was a super big job.
so yeah, so yeah, some people didn't know, but the town over here that I'm building, slowly building, this town over here, that is an actual city in Germany. It's Delmenhorst. That train station is, well, if you don't count the length of the platforms, it's 100% accurate to the Delmenhorst train station as of 2017. That is an actual recreation of the Delmenhorst station. 100% accurate inside and out. 100% to scale except for the platforms. Because to get platform 2 and 3 to actual scale, I would have needed a 15-foot table. Because it's a long platform. And I didn't have 15 feet.
Yeah, if you think Anthony doesn't do anything, go back to those videos where he was doing that station.
Well, I used to do stuff. I don't
That
do
was
stuff anymore.
hours and hours and hours
Yeah, it was
and
hours.
hours and hours of work.
Um,
Starts and stops and redos and
the station canopies here, the station canopies, actually have speakers in them that play station announcements from Delmenhorst.
Yep.
But these are the lights I've got to fix. But I figure I'll just do it all when I take out the Fowler car wiring.
Yeah,
I'll just
all
take
the wiring underneath.
wire through that. The speaker wiring's fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, the canopies all have speakers throughout them, so that if you're standing next to the canopies and I played them, you would hear very tinny station announcements coming out of the speakers at the actual station.
Not much different than what
The
it
real
is in real
thing,
life. What'd they say?
My chat hasn't moved in a while.
Now they're listening.
Ah, they're listening. There we go.
Yeah, they don't have a love button.
Hey, Joel, it was great to have you back. It was awesome to see you, Joel.
alright,
Take care.
Much luck with that.
Get
Joel.
well soon
hopefully
and
you don't have
take
it.
care, especially to your sister. Who,
Hit the like button on the way out. Yeah, hope your sister stays good.
well, she's the one that has
I know,
it. Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't
but
show that one enough. Sometimes I think that's a cool view.
it is. Yeah, lots of angles.
Yep.
Okay.
I actually toyed with
Hold it.
drilling a hole. I toyed with drilling a hole and putting it where the hill is. And either putting it on top of the hill. Yeah. Just to
Oh, I
run the
don't
wire
know, though.
through
I
it.
think this is a good.
Yeah.
I think that's a good angle. All kinds of
Just
extra-
all kinds of fun angles for me.
Yeah.
Because even when I'm running the trains, I look at the different camera angles
But
just to see them from different angles.
you need to do a cab run. You haven't done that in a while.
What?
You need to do a cab run. You haven't
Oh,
done that
I
in a
haven't.
while.
Yeah, well, I haven't done the show, and I did cab rides for the show.
Yeah.
Especially with some of the new builds I've got.
Yeah.
I got this, but
Yeah, the right one to put it on is enough.
it's up there.
Yeah. So it's late anyway.
Yeah, well, I'm not gonna do it now. No, I'd have to set it
You
up.
could actually put a video up on it.
How about that?
Yeah, he does love Delmenhorst. It's our German home.
Where am I trying to go? Where am I trying to go? C3. That's C3.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do love Delmenhorst. Delmenhorst was voted like 10 years ago. Let me change this. About 10 years ago, Delmenhorst was voted in a magazine in Germany, a travel magazine in Germany, ugliest city in Germany.
It's terrible.
And that was really offensive.
It was. I don't see anything ugly about it, but we're outsiders, but still, it's.
Why they decided to go after Delmenhorst, because I don't know, but it was voted ugliest city in Germany. Can you imagine that? Somebody calling your town the ugliest city in your country? And it's not an ugly city. It doesn't have a historical center because outside of 4 buildings, it was destroyed during the war, and it was a poor little town. So
Yeah, they didn't have the money to
They didn't rebuild
the
it.
old stuff.
all right, Alan, take care. Always an honor and a pleasure to have you here, sir.
Yeah. See ya, Alan.
But yeah, I do cab view, and I haven't done one in a while, so maybe I'll
Yeah.
do one this weekend and post a video of a cab view.
Good idea.
Well, thank you, dear. It was your idea.
I know.
Good idea, honey.
Well,
Because it was mine.
good idea, me. Yeah.
Good idea, me.
Yeah. I have them every now and then.
Yeah, it's almost all like, yeah, we gotta log off here and decide what we're doing for dinner. It's just the two of us, right? Liz works till 7. Hey! Take your germ-spewing self and cover it up better.
It's this weather, you know.
Joyce is allergic to changes in the weather.
I am.
Oh, you're leaving?
Yeah.
All right, yeah, you gotta go. Bye, honey. All right. Well, on that note, we're going to call it an evening. Let's start to slow everybody down. I've enjoyed running my trains again today. It's always cool to run trains and have people chatting. I spent all week trying to decide what trains to run, and I finally just came down here about 2 o'clock my time, so an hour and a half before I go live, and said, well, I guess I'll run, okay, these guys, and let's do this, and let's do this. Oh, right, over here. But yes, built up a lot of buildings, which I showed off last week and all that. But yeah, hopefully, whoops, sorry about that. You guys just got a thud. This time I did knock over the mic. Wow, Joyce and I have been knocking this mic over all day today. Anyhow, hopefully didn't offend anybody with the teasing the Romans, but there it is. Yeah, I love the cab view. I do love the cab view. I have the Polaroid Cube too. They made a Wi-Fi version of this, which was originally like $150, and now you can't find it. And if you find it on eBay or something like that, it's $500. GoPro's been selling the version 9, their newest one, which is Wi-Fi, for $350. I almost bought it, and then we had to do a house job that ate up that money. Anyhow, it was awesome to have everybody here. It's always an honor and a privilege to have some of you actually come and spend part of your Friday with me. Yeah, I'll talk about anything. I do try to keep out the politics, but history is a passion of mine. And I don't know why I didn't become a history teacher, but by the time I had to take the last 4 courses to get it, well, I got a history degree, but when I graduated college, I still needed 4 more courses to take to get the history degree. And I hit a point where arrogantly I was like, I know more than my professors knew. And I was just tired of courses where it's like, you haven't caught the latest research, they've changed their views on this, blah, blah, blah. I really hated doing that. And I was going for the English degree and linguistics degree and the German degree and the education degree, and something had to go, and it was the history degree at the time. You know, I finished it up a year later and got the history degree. But I was taking way too many classes and got married and went into my career. But I've got 6 college degrees. And but that doesn't mean anything. But there it is. So anyhow, I want to thank everybody again, because I get sidetracked and talk about other stuff again. Hopefully I'll see everybody next Friday. I will try to be back more active in the live streams. It's just been a rough couple of weeks here. And I'm trying to get back to a normal stream of life. So thanks everybody. And I'm going to say on behalf of Joyce, who is having her allergies and asthma going full tilt here, so she had to run off. So on behalf of her, I'm going to say I'll be